It's Sunday morning, and every decent man and woman is listening to Test Miles with Nick Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Buckle in.
Sunday morning, time to talk cars for the next 60 minutes on your weekly automotive experience. I'm Nick Miles. You're listening to America's Automotive Radio Show. Test Miles, locally created, nationally celebrated. Brad, Zhenya, and Sean in the studio this morning, and it's now time to talk about the cars that we have been test driving this week. I have actually been in the car that still remains my number one vehicle for when I win the lottery, and that's the Jaguar F-Type. Just unbelievable.
I think you say this every week.
Yeah,
you say about every car
your
almost.
newest favorite.
Well, of course, I'm very fickle, very shallow, and I like cars. Just like every American, you just show me something shiny and I want it. Of course, that's how it works. However, this has remained since this comes out the first car I'd buy if I win the lottery. Two-door coupes. It's really a stirring, flamboyant vehicle. I prefer the coupe, amazingly enough, to the convertible. Most people tend to like convertibles a little more, but I'm saying it wrong. It's coupe, and I'm sure Ian Callum would whack me around the back of the head if he heard me say coupe.
I'm actually the opposite on that car. I love coupes, but that's the one car I think looks sexy as a convertible and looks better as a convertible than the coupe.
It's a shame you're wrong. No rear drive option for this. Its top performance is the R. The model is limited to a passenger and a trunk, if you can really call it a trunk. I went to New Seasons to take my cans back yesterday. I had 2 black bags full of cans. I had to flatten the cans just to get them in the trunk. That's how small the trunk is. So we had to jump on the cans just to flatten them down so we could actually get them in the trunk. 3-liter V6, nobody wants that. 5-liter supercharged V8, hello. The 3-liter gets about 340 to 380 horsepower. The 5-liter, the V8, 550 horsepower. It does come in a manual now, or an 8-speed automatic, rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. I'll take the all-wheel drive in the Northwest, thank you very much. 22 miles a gallon combined, 29 on the highway, it's not so bad. What does it compete with? Something from Chevy, something from Porsche, something from Alfa, something from Mercedes, and no one cares. It's still my number one car. $67,225 will get you a model that you don't want. 95,000-ish will get you the model that you do want. Again, this is why it needs to come in on as part of a lottery winning ticket for me.
I had a conversation with Mark Scholes, our buddy with Ferrari, who's down at the coast now with the Ferrari Club. He wanted a vehicle that resonated, class, style, everything he wants to exude, but isn't the same BMW, Mercedes kind of vehicle that everybody else does. And this was the perfect choice. He asked a bunch of journalists. Every one of them suggested this vehicle.
I would tell you for 95,000-ish, this would be it. If I had to drop my money down to around 70,000, I would have the Alfa Romeo 4C. But for 95,000, this is definitely it. Just depends how much money I win on the lottery, basically. Sean, what have you been driving?
I've been driving the Dodge Durango Citadel, and it's our long-term vehicle, and I finally pried it out of your hands, and I see why you kept it so long. It is a fantastic vehicle. I can't believe for how big this vehicle is. It's a 7-passenger. Yeah, it's stretch limo status. No, it's a 7-passenger SUV, and is how big it is. It drives very small.
Now we have the
V6.
We have the 7-passenger, right? There is an 8-passenger version.
Is there an 8-passenger?
I think you can get a bench seat in the back.
I don't know why you'd want one. No. But anyways, the V6 actually has 290 horsepower, which is pretty... It doesn't feel like this is gutless at all. There's a little lag when you go up a hill, but nothing dramatic.
We had the choice of having a the V8 or the V6. I chose the V6. I didn't choose the Hemi because I have to pay for gas in this vehicle.
Well, there is a big difference. I mean, there's about 4 miles difference in the city. So, but you don't feel that the V6 is underpowered.
No, it's not.
I mean, this car has some unbelievable tech, like the Uconnect. I love how the Uconnect system actually allows you to text message people through the voice command, and it reads your text and also will send out a text, where a lot of our systems won't allow you to text people back. So this is an easy way to keep your hands on the steering wheel, eyes on the road. Also, you get 17/24 in our highway. The Uconnect also allows you to do live sports scores. So as people are driving today, they can listen to their favorite team instead of trying to go on their phone and look for it.
Right.
Starting price $30,495. The one we were driving is just short of $50,000. It's a must-have. I mean, the competitors are Ford Explorer, Chevy Traverse, and Toyota Highlander, and this car just blows all those ones out of the water.
I will also tell you it's built on the Mercedes-Benz ML frame, so that's another reason to have it. It's about $30,000 less than the car the other car that sits on that frame. Brad, with your headphones falling off, what have you?
I'm good. Well, I know what I'm going to say, so I don't need to hear myself talk. I had a little bit of a different experience with an SUV, and I've come to really love this segment. It's the subcompact. So we have Andy in here to talk about small vehicles, but this is the new Honda HR-V subcompact SUV, and that segment's really blowing up, but it's super competitive. Nissan Juke and the CX-3 from Mazda and the Jeep Renegade, which is real tough competition. And surprisingly, this clicks all of the buttons. It's got an available all-wheel drive, great fuel economy, some excellent tech features. It's fun to drive and sporty. Much better price, starting at $19,000. You can seat 5 in this vehicle. It's got what Honda calls the magic seat, which can configure, and you can do a lot of interior storage.
Ways, yeah.
So you could store a bunch of things in there. With the 1.8-liter 4-cylinder engine, it's 141 horsepower, so it's not a super fast vehicle, but it's not supposed to be. Its fuel economy for the front-wheel drive is 25 and 34, with the all-wheel drive 27 and 32. And from 19,000 to the mid-20s for the full navigation, full package is a heck of a deal.
It's going to be hard for the competition with this. Of course, Honda with the with the CR-V own that mid-segment there. I think they're probably going to own the small compact.
So you've got Baby Bear, Mama Bear, and Papa Bear with the Honda
Pilot. Yeah, Pilot being the top of the They've kind of got a trifecta going.
The one thing with that car that impressed me was the interior. It just doesn't look anything like a Honda. They're thinking outside the box with the interior.
Absolutely. They decided that people didn't like what they were doing, and so they tried to do something new.
A couple things that I didn't like on this is the CVT I'm still not a fan of. It was lurchy in a few spots when I was driving it and under acceleration. Loud, much more so.
Hair dryer loud?
Yes. The blow dry hair dryer. Does anybody use those anymore? And then the tech features
Brad, not your friends. They don't have any hair.
That's true.
Right.
But the interface, I wasn't real excited with. Well, we've had that conversation with Honda before. It wasn't the easiest to use.
Right. Okay. We're going to go to break in a second, and we're going to talk about the Toyota Prius when we come back, because there was a new Prius unveiled. I just want to mention congratulations to Zhenya, our intern. He trumped every single major newspaper and buff book this week in getting information on, what was it? Which car was it? The new Ford GT. He found the stats on the car before Motor Trend, everybody had them, and he fed them to Motor Authority, who published the stats. How did you do it, Zhenya? Come to the microphone.
Did Test Miles get credit?
No. Zhenya got credit. How did you do it?
What I did was I found the Ford GT, hit Y, which is the toggle button
on
for
what?
the stats.
On what? On your video
Forza
game?
6.
On Forza 6. They published the stats on Forza 6. He found them, and before Motor Trend got them, and Motor Authority published them. All right, this is Test Miles on FM News 101 KXL. When we come back, all about the new Toyota Prius. I'm Nick Miles.
It's Test Miles on FM News 101.
Welcome back to Test Miles, FM News 101 KXL, Portland's Automotive Radio show, live from our studios in downtown Portland. For all the latest automotive news, follow us on Twitter at Test Miles.
So here's a fun fact. So when picking the Prius name, Toyota kind of nailed it a bit. The name means to go before in Latin, or ahead of its time.
And it certainly was. Tuesday night at the Lynx in Las Vegas on the Strip, Toyota brought in 97 journalists, 350 people to see the unveiling of the 2016 Prius. I was at the event and saw the car for the first time. Joining us on the phone from Toyota to tell us all about the new 2016 Prius is Doug Coleman. Doug, welcome to the show. Thanks for sparing your Sunday for us. Why is Prius important to Toyota and the U.S.?
Dominated by really one form of powertrain. That was the internal combustion engine for about 100 years. So when Prius came along in the U.S. in about 2000, it really signified the first real change to powertrains. And technically it was revolutionary, but I think socially it was also the first real choice that consumers had to express their support for the environment. And at the same time, they didn't have to sacrifice convenience, quality, or value with their purchase. So all those reasons, I think, we know Prius as the icon it is today.
I actually call Prius owners very militant because if they like a Prius and they're all about Prius, there's no way to change everybody's mind. The people that love the Prius love the Prius. How many hybrids have Toyota sold, and how many of those Priuses have you managed to sell?
Well, in the past 15 years that Prius has been in the U.S., we sold nearly 2 million Prius family vehicles, and then globally that number is 5 million. So I think it's been a very successful all the way around the globe.
And the current model, the EPA of the current model, Doug, what is that?
It's 51 city, 48 highway, and 50 combined.
Now, I'm hearing that the new vehicle is going to have a better gas mileage than that.
Absolutely. We'd never introduce a new Prius without getting better fuel economy. So we'll be about 10% higher on the core grades than the current one. And then we'll be introducing a new eco grade sometime soon that will achieve even higher MPG than the core grades.
No sneak peek on how well that will do?
I wish I could tell you, but not today.
No comment on future product is usually the line we get from you guys.
That's right.
What's new on the 2016, Doug?
Well, I think obviously the Prius retains its great fuel economy and the low emissions heritage that we all know it for. But from a distance, you also still be able to recognize that unique roofline that makes Prius so iconic on the road. I think what's new, and it's very unexpected for Prius, is that it has really dramatic, sleek new style, both on the inside and the outside of the car. And then underneath, Prius rides on an all-new platform for Toyota that gives it a lower center of gravity. We'll be able to add a new rear double wishbone suspension, making Prius something that's really unexpected, and I think that's going to be fun to drive. So people are going to have to get in the car and check it out.
Now, obviously, we had very basic information that was revealed on Tuesday when the car was shown for the first time at the Links in Las Vegas. What's sort of the schedule for more information? Presumably this car is going to arrive in showrooms at the beginning of next year. We don't have any idea about when or price or anything like that?
Yeah, not yet. We'll be releasing more information throughout the rest of 2015, and then it'll be in showrooms by early next year. So there'll be a lot more news coming.
Now, who's buying this car? Who are the Prius buyers? Are these people who want to save money on fuel? Are they people that want to save the environment? Are they people who are just in love with the reliability? Who's the core audience for Toyota?
Well, today Prius has really reached a broad audience. It's such an exceptional value. Under $25,000, gets great fuel economy. So I think it's been an obvious choice for people looking to stretch their dollar recently. There's no other car that can compare.
And will the new Prius hit the same audience, or are you, like a lot of manufacturers, going for more of a Y generation?
Well, we're going to get our repeat buyers. Prius is one of the highest loyalty rates of any vehicle in the industry. Like you said, people are passionate about Prius, right? But what we're excited about the most is expanding the market to get to people who've always been interested in what Prius offers, but really just never felt that the style spoke to them. I think this new sporty styling, great new driving experience with the new car, I think there's going to be a whole new group of customers that will come in to check it out.
So a lot of people buy the Prius because it looks like a Prius. And will that still resonate with the buyers for this new model?
Yeah, I think the question really is are people buying cars so that you know you're driving an eco-friendly car? There's a lot of vehicles out there that do the sort of the eco-friendly job. The Highlander, perfect example. You can buy it in a hybrid version, but it still looks like a Highlander. Do you think that Prius audience is buying the car so they can tell people in the world that they're being environmentally conscious?
I think our original buyers, the ones way back 10, 15 years ago, that's absolutely what they bought it for. But over time, it's become really ubiquitous. Prius is everywhere, so people understand that it gives you great fuel economy, but it's really a great value too. And they're looking to go from point A to B on the fewest dollars that they can. So we reach both those buyers that are looking for a badge of honor and those who are just saying, I want to get the biggest bang for my buck.
There's a couple of interesting things, Doug, on the new car. First of all, it's just the exterior styling a little bit. We got the opportunity to drive and spend some time with the Mirai recently, which is your new fuel cell vehicle that hopefully will be out very soon. This new Prius seems to have a lot of characteristics. You can tell it's the same design team, or they have the design ideas about it. So this new rear end is very different departure from what we've seen in the Prius. Still the same sort of basic shape, but the lights are very stunning on the back end. And the front end seems to sort of have got some of that type of Mirai feeling as well.
Yeah, Yeah, I think when you look at that new car, you're going to see that it's very aggressive headlamps that wrap around the side and also extend down towards the front bumpers. But the rear shot of the car, I think, is where it's most distinctive. You'll see that the blackout a little bit in the C-pillar area. I think that's the familiarity with Mirai. It has the same sort of design cue. But what's unique about Prius is that really sharp character line with the rear tail light housing, and then when it lights up at night, there's no more distinctive lighting pattern on the market right now. It's going to be really obvious that the Prius is in front of you.
The other thing is, of course, the interior. You have dual screens, a lower and an upper and a lower screen, a wraparound dash. The interior is much more premium than the previous version. But that gear shifter, to me, and Prius has also had an interesting gear shifter. Always been interesting. It got super interesting with the new one because it really is much more like a game joystick, isn't it?
Yeah, the new gear shifter kind of comes out of the front console on its own separate panel. We still have all the same features that people have expected from their gear shifters in Prius since the second generation. So you'll have the drive and you'll have the special brake drive, but also reverse, et cetera. So I think a lot of the same characteristics that people have grown to love in their Prius, we continue to bring those ones back and then trial new ones as we go forward.
Hopefully you'll be able to feed us with more information. If you want to see pictures of that brand new 2016 Toyota Prius, just go to our Facebook page at Test Miles ENT, and you'll be able to see what it looked like from the stage there at the links. Doug, thanks so much for joining us, and maybe we can have you back as soon as there's more information to tell us about the Prius.
Thanks. It's been great, and I'd be happy to do that.
Excellent. You're listening to Test Miles. So, guys, you've seen the pictures of the new Prius. What do you think?
Looks better than previous models.
I still think that people buy that car so that they can be known to be driving a Prius. So it's better. I think it does still look like the Prius enough.
You know what I've noticed about Prius? There's just two types of people. The lovers and the haters.
And the haters
ones that drive in this left lane.
Right.
And the haters call them the pious owner drivers.
Right. And you know something?
I just call 'em slow.
I love driving the Prius. Even though I'm a V8, big muscle Mopar type of guy, I love driving it. I love what it does for my fuel economy. This one's wider. It's bigger on the interior. I do like the car. I'm not sure I'm in the demographic to own one since I'm a kind of a gas monkey. But at the same time, I think Toyota are going to sell. Look, they have 23% of that market, 23% of that hybrid market. They can only go up from here. It's Test Miles and FM News 101 KXL. When we get back, we're going to do some subcompact culture. We're talking to Andy and Mercedes, and we're also going to find out about insurance.
And coast in with testmiles.com.
Live from our studios in downtown Portland on a Sunday morning, it's America's Car Radio Show. We'd like to thank you for being part of the Car Nation. For more fun facts about cars, go to our Facebook page at Test Miles ENT.
Here's a fun fact so you can impress your friends with. The Honda Civic was launched in 1973 as a solution to the oil crisis that arose that year, and it was able to achieve 40 miles per gallon on the highway.
It kind of seems like we did a backwards turn a little bit with cars because 40 miles a gallon seemed to be the norm, and now we're really happy when a car breaks around 40 miles a gallon. We've had them on the show before and learned a lot about the culture of small cars, and we've asked them to come back again to hear more of their incredible stories about their adventures crossing the West this summer. Andy and Mercedes Lilienthal from Subcompact Culture. You drove around the West in just 95 horsepower, guys.
Yeah, that's right. So we have a project vehicle we've had for a few years. It's a Suzuki Sidekick, so it's really small to two-door. And it had 95 horsepower, probably at one point. I don't know if it still has 95 horsepower, but it's rated at 95 horsepower. And so we have some stuff done to it to make it a little bit more off-road capable. And we took it from Portland, Oregon, out to southwestern Colorado. And we did some off-road driving out there and exploring, and from that was Ouray, Colorado, and from Ouray, Colorado, we went to Moab, Utah, and we did some of the trails out in Moab, and again did some great exploring, and I ended up coming back through northern Nevada and southeastern Oregon, and it was a pretty amazing trip, despite having only 95 horsepower.
And no air conditioning in the heat.
Yeah.
That doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
It was called a cold bottle of
Spray bottle.
a little spray bottle, and me continually spraying us down while driving.
Yeah, it was interesting. Oregon is one of the few states that still has a 65 mile an hour speed limit.
Right.
And the Sidekick, well, we were also towing a trailer. We have it's a little trailer called a Danute trailer. It's a gentleman out of Salem that makes them. And it's fiberglass, and so it doesn't weigh a whole lot. So it's perfect to be pulled behind a subcompact vehicle, small vehicle. And car is completely comfortable at 65 towing the trailer.
And the rooftop tent.
And which we have a rooftop tent on from Cascadia Vehicle Tents. And so we crossed over the border into Idaho, and the speed limit goes from 65 to 80.
Right.
And so, of course, if the speed limit is 80, everyone does 85, 90.
And they're happy, and
So-
we're not.
We got passed by semi trucks. We got passed by RVs. We almost stopped at somewhere to buy an orange triangle for the back of the truck because I felt like we were going so slow. But we stayed about 65, 70 the whole way and got there. Truck did great, and we met some fantastic people on the trails of both Colorado and Utah. And it's kind of proof that you don't need a huge vehicle or a super expensive vehicle to really get out and explore and see the world.
You can do a budget build and be completely happy like we've done.
And now you have at least two parts to this story on your website at subculpanculture.com, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we have the first part, which was an intro and talks about the preparation it took to get the vehicle on the road and ready to go for this. And then we have another. The second part thus far is our first leg, which was from Portland to Murtaugh, Idaho, which was kind of interesting because for us we'd driven that, and it's mostly interstate, and it's not generally something that is too terribly amazing. I mean, the Columbia Gorge is beautiful, but it was so incredibly smoky due to the wildfires. It was incredible. But
Your eyes were burning at the end of the day. You could hardly talk.
So wait, is it no air conditioning, 94 horsepower, eyes were burning at the end of the day? It sounds like a great vacation.
it was actually quite fun.
it was one of those things too where
and you were camping.
and we were camping.
Oh, yeah, I got four things that might... No
That's
cable...
right.
No, wait, was it cable TV at least?
No cable television.
Smartphones, whenever we had service, though.
We had smartphones, yeah. But half the fun is getting there too. At least for us, it is an adventure. And I'll tell you what, when the speed limit is 80 miles an hour and you're only going 65, and you have no air conditioning, and you're getting passed by vehicles with 18, 22 wheels. You don't fall asleep at the wheel because it takes all the concentration you could possibly muster up to just keep that thing going.
No, but you probably did this vacation for a lot less money than if you'd been driving my Durango.
Very likely. I will say the Suzuki has a very small gas tank.
Tiny
and
bladder.
A tiny bladder, as we like to call it. And so there's lots of stopping. So, which is actually not bad because you get to stretch and all that stuff. And but it's 150 miles range when pulling the trailer. And I will tell you, when our last leg, which was from Winnemucca, Nevada to Portland, we decided to kind of explore Southeast Oregon a little bit. And I mean, it was a lot of nothing. And so you were hundreds of miles between gas stations. And so we carry a gas can with us, just in case.
Did you need it?
You know what?
Twice, almost.
Almost. We coasted into Rome, Oregon on fumes, and then they told us they didn't have any gas.
What?
Yeah, this is like one of these things you read about, like,
Rome, Oregon, the
Yeah.
home of one building and an outhouse and a little cafe I don't know if I'd ever want to eat at.
It's when you say, it's a wide spot in the road. Rome, Oregon was a wide spot in the road.
We passed
Beautiful.
it not knowing.
Beautiful, but there's a dust storm and all that stuff, and he came out and says, "Hey, we don't have any gas. The delivery didn't show up, so we had to go to Crane, Oregon, which is literally a wide spot in the road with one building, and we managed to put in 10.56 gallons into an 11-gallon tank. So we had about 8-9 miles basically left.
Wow.
I took a photo of that, of the gas
See,
pump.
I'm a security freak. I want good insurance. I want lots of gas. I want saved because I would probably have like the roof full of cans.
That was one of our main items that we had that we actually prepared and made because we didn't have a jerry can and a holder beforehand. And we said, with this many miles potentially in between towns and in between gas stations,
Right.
we wanted to make sure to have a full jerry can, which we did. We
No
almost used
service
twice.
on your phone.
Yeah.
Southern Oregon, dust storm, AAA not on.
Yeah, that was during the dust storm.
Yeah, it was an adventure. We were looking for an adventure, and we got it. And we'll definitely be writing more about our trips in the next coming weeks in terms of stories on the website. But Southwestern Colorado is unbelievable. Ouray, Colorado is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. Of course, Moab is just incredible. And like I said, it was an adventure when you're towing your house, and it's a tent. It makes things interesting,
especially in a 4 foot by 5 foot wide trailer.
Yeah,
I would say so. Just changing gears slightly. I've been talking to Andy a little bit about this, but we do a project vehicle every year, and this year we've been kind of talking about doing maybe a Jeep YJ or something to put a tent on the top and do all those kind of things with. And of course, Andy in the daytime also represents a whole slew of some of the best aftermarket companies in the PR department. I'm looking at maybe getting into this situation a little bit myself. So it sounds intriguing, as long as I can get 5 dogs in that tent on the top of the top of the car or the one
we'll
I
have to
tow.
talk to Bobby from CVT.
Yeah.
He's out of Bend.
We'll see if we can do that.
And room service.
And room service, cable TV,
And the butler.
air conditioning. Let me tell you, I'm looking, if anyone has a Jeep for sale, I'm looking to buy a Jeep, and I found a bunch of them, but, it's really hard to get these guys to call you back and those things on Craigslist. If you have a Jeep for sale we're looking to pay about $1,500 to $3,000 for something that we can completely renovate. Let me know. It has to have a hard top, and it. Yeah, that's basically it. It doesn't even have to be running. We'll fix all that part, and then we'll gut it. Peter from Mobile West will do the interior. Brian from Car Salem is going to manage the project and do it for us. So hopefully you'll be part of that, and then I can become part of the almost subcompact culture. I'm not sure a YJ really counts.
Close enough.
We'll give you one of our stickers, our bumper stickers.
Excellent, and I'll wear it with pride. I hope on your trip you had great insurance, because coming up next, Wayne Owl is going to be here from State Farm to tell us all about insurance, whether it's something that you have enough of and you don't have, and some tips and tricks to getting the best deal. You're listening to Test Miles and FM News 101 KXL. I'm Nick Miles.
Throw it in neutral and coast in with testmiles.com.
Live from our studios in downtown Portland, it's a Sunday morning America's Car Radio Show. We'd like to thank you for being part of this Car Nation. For more fun facts about cars, we have a Facebook, we have a Twitter, we have a website, we have lots of .comage. Please join us on social media.
10% of Oregon drivers and 16% of Washington drivers do not have auto insurance.
Then they should be in trouble for that, because I don't want to be involved in an accident someone doesn't have an insurance. Buying or selling and owning a car is just part of the deal of operating a vehicle. Insurance is another. And Wayne Au is here from State Farm. He's an agent with State Farm. Wayne, we thought we'd have you on because we've never had an insurance agent on to come and talk to us about insurance. So let's start off. Tell us the most basic answer to the most basic question, which is, why should we have insurance?
Yeah, and thank you for having me on. Why most people should have insurance is, number one, by law they have to. Otherwise, you end up in jail if you don't have it.
Right.
The next major reason is actually to protect yourselves. Part of the main reason why people have insurance, and let me backtrack a little bit, the law requires you to have state minimums, which is $25,000 if you hurt one person.
Right, okay.
$50,000 if you hurt multiple people, and $25,000 for the cars you end up hurting them with or damaging them with. But really, in the scheme of things, that's not enough. Because how many cars out there are $60,000 in value alone?
Especially the ones I like.
Yeah.
They're over 60.
That's right. And then if you end up hurting somebody or killing somebody, that's a few $100,000, if not millions, that you're exposed to.
Right. And so if you don't have enough insurance coverage, of course, they can go after your assets. Right?
Exactly.
So if you want to protect your home, protect your family, protect the things you've spent your life to earn, that's obviously the good reason. So we really talked about what the results are of not having insurance. You could end up losing your house and your car and those type of things. Is there a cap on the amount you can insure a vehicle for?
I think it's really based on the individual and what their circumstances. When I meet with how I serve my clients is I have annual reviews with them to really understand what's important to them, what kind of assets they have to protect, and then I tailor make their coverage for them. I'll give you an example. Liability, I would imagine, is the biggest exposure that they would have. So if you're worried about protecting your assets, your house, what you've earned, and what you own, then we want to make sure that we have adequate coverage for that. So that's the liability. The other major coverage that most people have is, of course, the car itself. So now we're going to comprehensive and collision. And if the car was stolen or damaged other than an accident, then that falls into comprehensive. But if there's car accidents where two cars hit each other, then you're running into more of collision. And that's when you really have to look at answering yourself, okay, am I ready to walk away from a $60,000 car or a $20,000 car or a $2,000 car? So depending on your situation is when we say, look, it's time to get comprehensive or collision, or maybe not.
You know, one of the reasons I knew I liked you immediately, I met you in the pre-interview this morning. We asked some basic questions. We talked about what we were going to talk about. And you said to me that all we really want to do is make your money work the best for you.
Yes.
It's not about how much you pay. It's making sure that if you're going to pay $100 a month, $200 a month, $50 a month, that money that you're paying does the absolute maximum to protect you and your car, right? And
That's right.
That's probably the big secret of insurance. You have a budget, you have needs, just making sure the money earns the most for you.
Yeah, and really, are there coverages that's not necessary? Like, Brad, you shared with me that mom's got
Yeah,
an
my
old
mom's
beater.
got an old car that's worth a couple of $1,000, so
Yeah.
I have collision on that car.
Right.
And maybe invest that money somewhere else.
Exactly.
We hear a lot of time about people trying to push us to combine. I have a motorcycle, I have a car, I have a house, those sort of things. Is there any advantage in putting them all in the same company?
Yeah, and if how I do it at my agency, and you can certainly go to my website at www.wadeau.net. That's WADEAU.net. How we do it is there are major discounts out there called a multi-car discount. So having more than one car in a family will get you that multi-car discount. And then there's a multi-line discount where if you have the two cars and then you have another line of product, which is like either a renter's policy or a homeowner's policy, or even an income protecting type of policy like a disability or a life insurance policy, that will get you that bundling of a multi-car, multi-line discount.
Yeah,
yes.
cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
I have probably time for two more questions. One of the questions I get asked a lot is, should I insure that car that's sitting in my garage that I don't drive?
Again, it depends, right? Is it a $60,000 car that's in the garage and it's torn up and it's not moving?
Right.
Or is it going to be sitting out there, just out in the street, and maybe it's going to get stolen? Bottom line is this. There's a lot of questions that I ask all the time. It says, I've got a car sitting in the garage. So should I insure it because I don't drive it? And then they said, will my homeowner's insurance cover for that? General rule of thumb is usually no to the homeowners, because there's a better policy out there than your homeowners to protect your vehicle. So, yeah, you should probably have some kind of insurance. And again, call my office or visit my website, and I'll be glad to answer those questions for you, because there's lots of little nuances based on that question.
Here comes the whammy question that everybody wants to know. What mistakes do people make when they buy insurance? What should they do and they don't do? How can we get a better deal?
Yeah, I would say the first thing is I have full coverage, so I'm covered. Well, there's no such thing as full coverage. You really need to know what the limits of your policies are, and then you really need to know what kind of coverage you have. Again, do you have comprehensive collision, or do you have enough in liability? Do you just have the state minimum stuff?
And the state minimum is what again?
$25,000 for one person if you injure them, $50,000 for multiple people.
And that's substantially under. My kids were hit by a drunk driver, and there were 6 people involved, and there was $50,000 to split among the others. So we had to go after the person,
right,
for their assets.
And then the second part was they're all the same. All insurance companies are the same. Well, that's not necessarily true. You really have to look at their financial strength. How strong are they? Because what you're doing is you're buying a promise. So this company that's insuring you, do they have the capital to back you up when the time comes? And then is there advice along with before the bad things happen that maybe somebody has put a plan together for you to make sure that when bad things happen to you, you're all prepared.
Right.
So that's number 2. I would say number 3 is, it won't happen to me. Well, that's why they call it accidents. It happens all the time to people. I've got one client, I think she was in her 70s, and we talked about maybe upping her limits of liability, and she said, no. Well, we finally did it, and guess what? 2 weeks later, she ran over a pedestrian, and she is so glad she had that better coverage than what she had previously.
So really, the truth is you just need to find a good insurance agent and talk to them about what you do in your life, where you're at, and they'll tell you what they think that you should be covered for. Because it sounds like, just assuming that and you're covered is probably the biggest mistake, is people think they're okay and they're not.
Yeah, and I think with the the advent of the internet and everything, everybody thinks, yeah, I can do it on my own, and I know how to do it. And I think they can do it to a certain extent until there's an accident.
Excellent. Wayne, Al, thanks so much. And Test Miles, of course, 24/7 at testmiles.com. I'm Nick Miles.